Wala nang teacher ang magre-retire ng Teacher 1. Mas malinaw na po ang landas ninyo. Hindi nyo na po kailangan mag-antay ng matagal para umasenso.
Tonight's top stories. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. calls for ASEAN petroleum sharing mechanism during the Asia Zero Emission Community Plus online summit.
Bureau of Internal Revenue's collections climb in March by more than 11%.
Service contracting scheme by the Marcos administration officially kicks off.
And father and son surrendered to police after a fatal stabbing in a computer shop. All these and more here on 13 News.
Good evening, I am William Thio. We are bringing you the day's top stories that shape the country, straightforward, clear, and concise.
I'm Angela C. Under one flag with 3 mandates to inform, explain, and empower the nation. This is
13 News. Back on home soil, 321 Filipinos from Kuwait safely arrive at the Naiya Terminal 3 aboard a special Kuwait Airways flight. The repatriation was carried out under the directive of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. amid tensions in the Middle East. All available seats were prioritized to bring home as many OFWs and their dependents as possible. Upon their arrival, those from Metro Manila and Luzon were brought to the Seafarers Welfare Center, while others from Visayas and Mindanao were temporarily housed at a hotel.
Meanwhile, the remains of 20 Filipinos were also returned to the country. OWA clarified that the deaths were due to natural causes and are not related to the current situation in the Middle East.
Tonight, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has called for the activation of an emergency petroleum sharing mechanism during the Asia Zero Emission Community Summit.
He also pushed for stronger regional cooperation to help address the ongoing global energy crisis. During the summit, the president underscored the Philippines' vulnerability to global oil supply shocks, especially amid the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, stressing the need for more secure and resilient energy systems.
The chief executive also welcomed Japan's initiative to strengthen regional supply chain cooperation.
No single country in Asia can insulate itself from supply chain shocks of this scale by acting alone. And the Philippines stands ready to work alongside every economy represented here.
Meanwhile, commuters can now breathe a little easier with discounted fares rolling out under the government's Net Service Contracting Program. With lower rates for regular passengers and bigger cuts for PWD students and seniors, the program aims to give every peso more mileage. IBC News correspondent Cristal Ramizares filed this report.
Passengers can now enjoy discounted fares on selected public vehicles under the Net Service Contracting Program. Regular commuters get a 20% discount, while PWDs, students, and senior citizens will receive a 40% discount. For some, like commuter Christina, it's the first time they've experienced lower fares, with her usual 13 peso trip from Fairview to Payatas now down to 11 pesos.
Kasi para din sa amin na kunti lang kinikita namin, pabor sa amin yun. Kasi yung mga hanap buhay namin, kunti lang kinikita namin dyan eh. Tapos yung pamasahe mahal.
The net service contracting program also helps drivers and operators cope with the fewer operating PUVs by providing additional support.
Sa presidente may nagagawa naman yung presidente natin.
Under the scheme, each PUV will receive 30 to 100 pesos per kilometer, depending on the vehicle type, covering up to 800 routes nationwide. Drivers are required to install GPS units to track distance and ensure transparency in implementation and prevent corruption.
That's why we're requiring our PUVs enrolled in our net service contracting program na magkaroon ng GPS para po wala na pong human intervention pagdating sa ruta ng kanilang tinagbo. At matitiyak natin na yung babayarin natin na ruta ay yun yung tama at wasto.
However, some transport groups and Senator Joel Villanueva oppose the mandatory GPS requirement, citing added costs of at least 500 pesos a month.
Hindi sapat itong funding na to para tumaya pa, no? Gumastos pa yung mga transport workers natin para dito sa GPS na to. Kaya kung gagastos din lang, dapat mayroong pang abono ang ating gobyerno.
Despite this, program remains part of the government's broader effort to ease the impact of rising oil prices and support the transport sector. Cristal Ramizares, IBC News.
An oath-taking ceremony for newly promoted teachers and principals was held at Tacloban today, led by President Marcos Jr. The expanded career progression system aims to fast-track and clear the path for teachers seeking promotion. More details from IBC News correspondent Harley Valbuena.
Wala nang teacher ang magre-retire ng Teacher 1. Mas malinaw na po ang landas ninyo. Hindi nyo na po kailangan mag-antay ng matagal para umasenso.
This was the assurance of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the oath-taking of newly promoted teachers and school heads at the Tacloban City Convention Center in Leyte. The President said from August 2025 to April this year, more than 65,000 teachers and school heads have been promoted under the Expanded Career Progression or ECP system of the Department of Education. Among them are the 2,121 newly promoted teachers and principals in Eastern Visayas. Under the ECP, teachers can now choose between two career paths, classroom teaching or school administration, with new positions created such as Teacher 4 to Teacher 7, Master Teacher 5 to 6, and School Principal 5. The Chief Executive also pushed for the further expansion of the program to encourage teachers to stay in the profession.
Meron tayong mga ibang teacher 30 taon na nag-aantay at ngayon pa lang sila mapopromote mula sa Teacher 1. And because of this, many of our educators were compelled to move into administrative roles for higher compensation. Kaya't sinabi ko na, kailangan ipatupad ang Expanded Career Progression or ECP system para sa ating mga guro sa mga pampublikong paaralan.
He added that the 10,000 peso teaching supply allowance for school year 2025-2026 has already been released along with the implementation of Sapinas, Ikaw ang Mama at Sir or SPIMS program, which helps OFWs pass the licensure examination for teachers, which will eventually address the shortage of teachers and improve the quality of education. Also today, the President visited the Balikbayang Manggagawa National Reintegration Network and the Balikturo, a Hero's Journey Way Home event in Tacloban City. This provides government services, opportunities, and livelihood support for returning OFWs, especially those affected by the Middle East crisis, in a single venue. Harley Valbuena, IBC News.
The Presidential Communications Office has again referred to 3 Facebook accounts to the Department of Justice for spreading false information about the health of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. The accounts Eloy Bugris, the Queen of Revelations, Rigondola Ping, and Craig Anderpal are accused of posting misleading content, including fabricated claims and manipulated images. The DOJ will conduct a case buildup and evaluation, with initial findings expected within 10 days. This follows an earlier recommendation to file charges against another page for spreading false claims about an alleged energy lockdown. The PCO warns that spreading fake news, especially on critical issues, may constitute a crime under the revised Penal Code and the Cybercrime Prevention Act.
Siyempre, ang binabalansa natin yung karapatan ng bawat Pilipino na mag-post. Pero sa kabilang banda, kailangan din nating masawa tayong mga sadya, di ba? Sadya naman na disinformation.
Malacanang has directed the National Bureau of Investigation to probe the latest statement of key witness Ramil Madriaga about the alleged assassination plans against the president. Palace Secretary Claire Castro said the NBI is mandated to investigate such threats, citing remarks made by Vice President Sara Duterte and Mayor Baste Duterte. Castro further shut down reports of the term-sharing agreement between the President and VP Sara brought during the Justice Committee hearing on the impeachment.
Hindi na nga po nabago ito ang pagbabanta sa buhay ng Pangulo. Sinimulan na nga po ito ng Vice Presidente. Ang Pangulo po, hindi po yan mangangampanya para lang po ibigay ang posisyon kahit kanino. Ang sabi ko po natin, nangako po siya na siya'y magtatrabaho para sa bayan at tatapusan ng termino.
Meanwhile, the palace also criticized former presidential spokesman Harry Roque's call for the release of the president's medical records.
Mas maganda po na tumakbo ng ilang metro kesa tumakbo sa kamay ng batas.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has formally appointed Eduardo Oban Jr. as the new National Security Advisor. Oban previously served as Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines in 2011 under the administration of late former Benigno Noynoy Aquino III. As National Security Advisor, Oban will also serve as Director General of the National Security Council. The appointment follows the President's formal acceptance of former NSA Eduardo Año's courtesy resignation. According to the palace, Año seeks to retire after years of service in the government and the military.
Despite the economic impact of the Middle East conflict, the Bureau of Internal Revenue announces an increase of its gross collection performance in March 2026. Based from the data, the agency collected over 198 billion pesos, which is over 21 billion pesos or 11.87% higher than the same month last year. The BIR said its higher year-on-year growth, along with higher tax refunds, reflects more funds being returned to taxpayers and businesses. The agency added that last month's collection performance is encouraging, ensuring steady government revenues to fund essential services for the country. Meanwhile, cash remittances to the Philippines have also gone up in February this year. According to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP, data show cash remittances climbed to $2.79 billion or a 2.6% increase compared to last year's $2.72 billion. Year-to-date figures have also continued to grow since the start of the year. The BSP reported that the United States remained the top source of cash remittances during the month, along with Singapore, Saudi Arabia, Japan, United Kingdom, and United Arab Emirates. And consumers can expect a slight increase in their electricity bills this April after the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines reported a hike in transmission rates. Transmission rate increased by 1 peso and 75 centavos per kilowatt hour in March, about 4% higher compared to February. The NGCP clarified that the increase is not directly tied to fuel costs, assuring the public that there is no immediate risk of power interruptions this summer.
Walang direct impact, Alvin, for transmission services in respect of the challenges posed by the conflict in the Middle East. We are like an ordinary consumer because our vehicles run on fuel. Pero in terms of transmission services, directly, hindi naman fuel dependent yan.
Up next, CCTV footage captures the fatal stabbing in a computer shop in Tondo, Manila. More stories coming when we return. This is 13 News.
Flavors worth craving. Stories made to inspire. Restaurant every Friday at 4 p.m. on IBC 13.
What is the big vision here?
Hard-hitting.
Migration is a choice and not a necessity.
The goal of IOM and the goal of the Marcos government is really to make migration a choice. But is that a realistic aspiration, or is it more of like just a positive spin?
Critical.
How did this affect the people in Bahrain?
An OFW has no job security.
In depth. Catch the Commission on Filipinos Overseas Chairman Dante Cling as he uncovers key initiatives shaping public welfare and national development. Chairman's Report, every Friday at 7 p.m.
Warning, sensitive content. Two men stormed into a computer shop in Barangay 105 Tondo, Manila, where they attacked a 46-year-old man. The victim sustained multiple stab wounds and was later declared dead. The suspect's father and son later surrendered to the Manila Police District. They admitted to the stabbing but claimed that they had only intended to confront the victim over an earlier incident. According to them, the victim had allegedly tried to stab the younger suspect prior to the attack. Authorities have filed murder charges against the suspects. Meanwhile, more than 1 million pesos worth of jewelry was stolen by the so-called termite gang from a pawn shop in Libertad, Pasay City. Initial investigation shows the suspects bored holes through the wall to gain entry into the establishment. Authorities said the tunnel leads to a manhole in Park Avenue. The alleged insider, meanwhile involved in the robbery, is now taken in custody while the manhunt for the other suspects continue.
Authorities continue to contain and monitor the Navotas sanitary landfill, which has been emitting harmful smoke since April 10. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources said it is consistently reviewing air and water quality around the affected areas. It is also considering filing a case against the landfill owner over improper rehabilitation plans and closure, which may have caused the fire. Meanwhile, the Navotas City Mayor has mobilized an immediate relief operations for around 150 families affected by the incident. Amid the ongoing impeachment proceedings for Vice President Sara Duterte, the Commission on Audit has ordered the return of around 73 million pesos from the 125 million peso confidential funds of the Office of the Vice President. The COA said the OVP failed to follow provisions such as the submission of required documentary evidence of payment, leading to the issuance of a notice of disallowance. The agencies declared its decision is final and rejected the appeal filed by VP Sara's camp, as House Public Accounts Committee Chairperson Terry Redon stresses that there is now a clear obligation to return the money.
There is already an obligation to return the money. Ang nakatali na po ron, si Ms. Acosta, yung Chief Accountant, at si Vice President Sara Duterte. Kasi nga, may finality na po yung Commission proper on the question.
While the House Justice Panel will now shift its focus to VP Sara's unexplained wealth in the next hearing, after VP Sara denied the allegations against her by her self-confessed bagman, Ramil Madriaga. House Justice Committee Chairperson Jinky Luistro said key government agencies, including former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, will be invited to provide information in the upcoming hearing set on April 22.
The Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division has inspected the flood control project in Pandi, Bulacan, linked to former Senator Bong Revilla and former DPWH officials. Investigators say the project may be a ghost project despite having a contract awarded to a private contractor. The team found a 40-meter gap between structures with missing infrastructure meant to control flooding. Prosecutors also noted that some sheet piles appear old and rusted, suggesting they were installed long ago without completion. A bail hearing for Revilla and his co-accused is set on Friday, with a former DPWH engineer expected to testify. Meanwhile, the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee has suspended its hearings on the issue pending the sponsorship of its partial report in the plenary.
The nation's girl group continues its rise to global fame. In just 1 week, Beanie's latest single has surpassed 1 million streams on YouTube. With its electrifying and vibrant pop sound, their newest track, Blush, is already being hailed as a potential song of the summer. Fresh off their historic debut as the first Filipino act at Coachella, Beanie is set to return for Weekend 2 of the festival in California on April 17. Fans can also catch the group's docuseries now streaming on Netflix, showcasing their journey to stardom. Coming up next, Donald Trump says the war in Iran is nearing its end. We have more news updates when we return. This is 13 News.
Balitang nakalat.
Mamulat ng kanyang mga si Presidente at si
Binantayan. Sinuri. Nilatag at inihayag. 13 sa tanghali. Kasama sina Greg Gregorio, Naj Miravalles at Zai Chua. 13 sa tanghali sa ganap na alauna dito sa IBC 13. Pangarap mong maging milyonaryo? Sa PCSO Lotto, magkakatotoo! Mas pinasaya, mas pinabongga, mas pinalaki ang mga jackpot prizes. Araw-araw ang bola, kaya more chances of winning sa PCSO Lottery Draws. Lunes hanggang Linggo, tuwing 2 p.m., 5 p.m., and 9 p.m. Flavors worth craving. Stories made to inspire. Restaurant every Friday at 4 p.m. on IBC 13.
Welcome back to the program. U.S. President Donald Trump said the war in Iran is very close to over. This comes after the failed peace talks in Islamabad and the U.S. Navy's blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance remarked that the ball is in Iran's court. In a Turning Point USA talk, Vance echoed Trump's words, saying that if Iran vows to abandon nuclear weapons, the U.S. will help its economy thrive. Meanwhile, traffic at the Strait of Hormuz remained relatively normal during the first day of the U.S. blockade, with 20 ships passing through and no vessels leaving the Iranian ports. Meanwhile, Super Typhoon Sinlaku has battered Guam and the northern Mariana Islands, including Saipan and Tinian, with winds reaching up to 250 kilometers per hour. U.S. President Donald Trump has approved emergency declarations to provide federal resources for the affected regions. The U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency continues to deploy response teams and provide aid, while the U.S. Coast Guard is on standby for emergency responses.
Team Philippines is all set for the upcoming 6th Asian Beach Games happening on April 22nd to 30 in Sanya, China. Philippine Olympic Committee President Abraham Bambol Tolentino announced that 101 athletes are ready to compete in the Games. Tolentino added that preparations also extend to the closing ceremony, where the Asian Beach Games flag will be turned over to the Philippines as the host to the 2028 edition in Cebu. Here are the results of the 9 p.m. draws from the PCSO. For the Mega Lotto 645, the winning numbers are 27, 21, 26, 37, 39, and 43 with a jackpot price of 26,616,490 pesos and 2 centavos. For the Grand Lotto 655, the winning combination is 32, 43, 20, 46, 9, and 15 with a jackpot price of 51,762,661 pesos and 4 centavos. For the 4D Lotto, the winning combination in exact order is 7, 5, 7, and 8. For the 3D Lotto, the winning numbers are 2, 5, and 0. And finally, for the 2D Lotto draw, the winning numbers are 21 and 13. There are no winners for the Mega Lotto 645 and the Grand Lotto 655. Tomorrow, April 16, the DSWD will start the distribution of cash relief to tricycle drivers in Ilocos region. About 7,320 drivers will receive 5,000 pesos each. Meanwhile, wage earners in Central Luzon will also receive a 40 peso increase in Central Luzon.
Also tomorrow, April 15, marks the National Wear Your Pajamas to Work Day, encouraging employees to wear comfortable sleepwear to the office. This event promotes the importance of work-life balance and raise sleep and health awareness while maintaining productivity. Wouldn't that be fun? What if we just do that tomorrow, wear our pajamas
I was
for the newscast?
just going to say, with that being said, and since we're talking about it and we're allowed to talk about it, I think we will also be allowed to wear our pajamas. So I think, what do you think? I dare you.
I dare us.
Yes, okay. And those are the latest from the IBC Newsroom this evening.
We'll continue to monitor the stories that matter and bring you updates as they develop. I'm Angela C.
And I'm William Thio. This is 13 News. Good night, everyone.